But they're going to ask, why weren't you there? Why was it just him? Why weren't you part of that meeting to help Canada? Where were you? Hey, everybody, and welcome back. So, Jamil Jivani is in the news again. Some of you might remember him from the election nights in 2025. And he went rogue and started giving his 2 cents.
Yeah, well, look, Doug Ford just went through an election. I don't like how he's managed healthcare or education. We didn't get in his way. When it was our turn to run an election, he couldn't stay out of our business, trying to position himself as some kind of political genius that we needed to be taking cues from.
Now he's going rogue again, taking meetings with JD Vance, Vice President of the United States, and Marco Rubio, which I have a theory why, especially those two. But he went by himself, took meetings with him, some other GOP officials as well, to try to help Canada mend fences and get a deal and stop the trade war and tariffs. He's just a normal MP who happened to have gone to school with JD Vance and knows him. That's it. I don't know what he brings to the table. He doesn't have connections to people that the Liberal government doesn't already have access to. The Liberal government already has access to JD Vance and Marco Rubio. They have access to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the one that makes the decisions. Everybody Giovanni met with cannot convince Donald Trump to do anything. So he's wasting his time, in my opinion, and in everybody else's opinion as well. Now, you've got some people out there saying that, if you have the ability to get a message across, to take advantage of it and do what you can to help Canada. I don't disagree with you on that. But to go technically rogue and go by yourself with no other official capacity, it's a waste of time. Now let's take a look at some of the reasons and his concerns of why he went down. All right. So Conservative MP Jamil Jivani says he met with Trump administration officials on Wednesday as he visited the United States Capitol on an independent trip billed as an effort to improve Canada-U.S. trade relations. Sure. Okay, whatever. Now, take a look at this one. Productive meetings today with the White House and State Department. The president asked me to pass along a message. Tell the Canadians I love them. I'll have much more to say later. More meetings with senators, GM, and others this week. President Trump loves Canadians. Yeah, sure you do. Funny way to show them. Talk about how we let in fentanyl and everybody's dying because of it. How we need to be the 51st states. How you guys subsidize us. And if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't be a nation. Yeah, you love us. And then tariffs, economically hurting us. Come on, let's get out of here. Of course, Giovanni, a university friend of U.S. Vice President JD Vance, offered to work with the Liberals before heading on the trip, but said he was snubbed. You weren't snubbed. You don't offer anything and you don't bring anything to the table. You going to school with JD Vance doesn't give you anything extra that the current Liberals and their envoy for making deals with the U.S. don't already have. They can already meet with JD Vance. They can already meet with Marco Rubio. They can meet with the President of the United States, Donald Trump. You being friends with JD Vance brings nothing. It doesn't help. So they didn't snub you. They don't need you. So here, this is what Mark Carney had to say to this. Speaking on his way to a caucus meeting earlier this week, Wednesday, Prime Minister Mark Carney said while Jivani was briefed by Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc, the Liberal government is in constant contact with the U.S. administration and has its own list of intensive contacts. They have everything. They don't need you. They don't need your friendship with JD Vance. It doesn't help. JD Vance is not going. I can understand the argument where you're friends with JD Vance, you can reason with him, the friendship you have can help you get your point across of what Donald Trump is doing is wrong, hurting not only Canadians but American citizens. I can understand that. But the problem is not only do I know, but everybody else, especially in politics and in the negotiations, Donald Trump doesn't listen to anybody. He does what he wants. So even if JD Vance went tomorrow and said, Mr. President, we need to make a deal with Canada, and these are the reasons A, B, C, D, and E, and why it would be beneficial more for us than for them, Donald Trump wouldn't listen to him because it's all about his ego. Mark Carney is embarrassing him because he's a better leader and people like him more. And Donald Trump rules by emotions, not by logic. Mark Carney goes on to say, Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Jivani, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition. No. Certainly not the Minister of International Trade. No. Or the Prime Minister of Canada. Definitely not. He's none of that. He's just an MP. Conservative MP with no special sit-ins or any, he's not on any committees. When asked about the briefing, Jivani said he exchanged emails with LeBlanc, but they have yet to speak over the phone or in person, despite weeks of effort. He's trying to be nice. He doesn't have time for you. He doesn't want to talk. You bring nothing to the table. We are working on a meeting for next week where I can fully debrief him on my meetings in Washington, he wrote. I hope I can get a chance to speak with the Prime Minister also, instead of us having to communicate through the media. I look forward to meeting with them and the opportunity to put partnership aside. They don't want to talk to you. There's whatever came of your meetings will bring nothing to the table for the negotiations. Now, this is going to be a problem for Pierre Poilievre, okay? We're going to get to his response, but I think his response is typical, but in the background, he's not impressed. And I'm going to go over that. So Pierre Poilievre, and this is his response to Jamil Jivani going rogue and having a meeting with JD Vance. The advice I have given all of our MPs is you need to fight for your jobs in your community, said Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, referencing GM Canada's 1,200 layoff at its Oshawa, Ontario plants. Yes, every leader says you need to fight for your constituents, especially when they lose their jobs. But that didn't mean for you to intend for Jamil Jivani to go and have a meeting with JD Vance or Marco Rubio, because that undermines your leadership. Because now your constituents, your conservative followers, your supporters are going to say, why didn't you go? Those are two high-named, ranked officials in the U.S. The Vice President of the United States and Marco Rubio, another right-hand man of Donald Trump. Why is a normal MP going to meet with them and not you, let alone you just going with them? That's fine. You have an MP that has it in with JD Vance because they're friends from school. It's a great asset to have. But they're going to ask, why weren't you there? Why was it just him? Why weren't you part of that meeting to help Canada? Where were you? That doesn't look good for him. Do you think he's happy? No. That's Mr. Jivani is undermining his leadership. He's already lost his riding. He lost a 25-point lead to win the election. He lost 3 MPs, 2 across the floor and 1 quit. And then you've got one that's going and having high priced meetings with officials, the Vice President of the United States, the ones that are having the tariff war with Canada. And this gentleman, who's the leader of the opposition, can't get a meeting, but an average MP can? That's not good. That undermines him. He's not happy. He's pissed right now. What do you think that's going to do internally to that party? So how does this MP taking a meeting helping the Conservative Party unite against the Liberals? It doesn't. It makes the party look weak. Not only that, Donald Trump is going to use this guy as a useful idiot. He's going to but he's going to use this to show that Canada's not even united. Supposedly, everybody, all those conservatives say elbow up and it means nothing. He's going to say the same thing. All Canadians are not on the same page. You've got 2 different parties making 2 different meetings where I'm negotiating with the actual leader of the party, but I'm also taking a meeting with some ordinary MP that has no power. How does that make Canada look? But there's a reason why he did this, and it's all self-serving and selfishness. Okay, so remember I said him going to meet JD Vance and Marco Rubio. There's a reason why, and this is speculation, okay? But to me, where there's smoke, there's fire. Mr. Jivani is a young politician, okay? He's got a long technical career in politics, and with a lot of people, aspirations to move up. Where do you move up? You move up to become leader of the party, and then the leader of the party, you could become Prime Minister of Canada. Pierre Poilievre within the party, even though he got the leadership again, there's no in my opinion, there's still doubt in his willingness to change for the benefit of the party, to show rest of Canada that he can lead, because the Conservatives and the Liberals are close in the polls. But when it comes to actual people and who they like as the leader, Pierre Poilievre only has a 34% favorability, where Mark Carney's at 66%. His days are numbered. There's blood in the water, and the sharks are circling the boats. Okay? Mr. Jivani is one of those sharks. He's going to leverage his friendship with the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, and Marco Rubio, who are the front runners for 2028's presidential run. So they have a meeting, okay? They talk, because they're already thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the roads, that maybe they can show some influence and give him some sort of win, that it was his meeting that brought Donald Trump to the table. That's why Donald Trump was polite to him and said, "Tell Canada that I love you." Because he knows he can manipulate Mr. Jivani to do what he wants if he's nice and does something for him. So maybe he gives him a shout out saying, we came to a deal with Mr. Carney and the Liberals, but we also have to thank Mr. Jivani, the MP from Bowmanville, who opened the dialogue. You don't think that's going to go far for when he makes his bid for the leadership of the PC party? And then if things continue and Mark Carney or something happens and Mark Carney screws up, maybe 5-10 years, because again, politics is always thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the roads. that they won't remember this. Again, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, that they're going to have an ally as Prime Minister, potentially Prime Minister of Canada. This is technically chess. When you have smart people playing, this is what they do. They're thinking long terms. That's all this is. Has nothing to do with trying to help Canada. It's only trying to help his political career. And then they're going to have a useful idiot as Prime Minister of Canada to take advantage of Canada once again and destroy anything that we maybe have accomplished to be less reliant on the U.S. Because at the end of the day, the U.S. wants you reliant on them. They don't want you going other places. They don't want you having partnerships with other people. That's the goal of the United States, especially now. Only come to us because you have to rely on us. And that's what we've been doing for so many decades. And look where we are now. And they don't like that we're going on our own. So they're planning for the future. So again, that's speculation, but I've seen enough smoke to know where there's fire. I've seen enough manipulation within politics over my life. And this, I have a strong feeling with. I don't have any proof, but just from the way things are, this is where I think Mr. Jivani is playing his cards. The only benefit is Mr. Pierre Polyev is not going to be leader soon. He's on his way out. Again, I've said this before, but this is also more evidence that even his own MPs are already thinking about who's going to be replacing him or how they're going to replace him. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think. If this was a good move by Jamil Jivani, how this is actually going to help Canada, that the Liberals or Mark Carney and his MPs don't already have under control. Or let me know if you agree with me on my speculation and why Mr. Jivani actually went down. That this is his way of trying to get into the leadership of the Conservative Party. Anyways, guys, take care. We'll talk later.